Hi, everyone. My name is Liudmila Molkova. I'm a developer advocate at Grafana. I maintain OpenTelemetry Semantic Conventions, and I'm a technical committee member. We don't have Jeremy here. He had to cancel last minute because of the travel house of the last days. He is virtually or maybe spiritually with us. He maintains OpenTelemetry Weaver project, and he also uses it extensively to define, document, and validate the telemetry his company writes. I'll do my best to prepare his part, but bear with me, and worst case, we will have some time for the questions at the end. Okay. So how many of you have watched Josh Soros and Lauren Coral's talk, Observability by Design, at KubeCon London? Okay, just a few of you. You should watch it. I mean, not right now, please. But once you have a moment, please go and watch it. This is a great foundational talk that talks about telemetry, treating it as a contract, and validating and documenting it, and generating code and whatnot. You can think about this talk as a sequel. Here we'll go into the new area we just added to Weaver. But essentially, the point that talk goes into is that telemetry is a contract. It's a contract between the producer and consumer. And those are two different groups of people, sometimes different companies in many times. We as OpenTelemetry instrumentation authors, we write some telemetry, and we try hard to keep the contract. Sometimes we will break it in backward compatible manner, hopefully, with major version bump or something, but this contract could be fragile. And there are a lot of things that can go wrong. Your configuration can have a typo. Your refactoring can accidentally remove some attribute or metric. And your dashboards alert, maybe some business reporting actually depends on this tiny little contracts. So the solution is kind of trivial, right? We have database schemas, we have API definitions, we test them. We test compatibility, we have tooling to validate it. So again, sending you back to the Josh's and Lauren's talk, Observability by Design. Let's just break down this in individual pieces. It's easy to say test your telemetry, but how can we do this? I have some good news. So the first part, like how do we define the contract? Well, we actually have a language for it. We have, over the years, developed it in OpenTelemetry Semantic Conventions. We can define our spans, metrics, events, entity as resources. Even better, you can document your own contract. You can build it on top of OpenTelemetry by importing parts of it, or you can just create a disjoint set of conventions. And we are excited that Prometheus project is actually toying around and playing with our tooling and semantic conventions without necessarily taking dependency on the definitions inside OpenTelemetry. Okay, so how many of you are not familiar with OpenTelemetry Semantic Conventions? No judgment here, I'm just curious. Cool, yeah. So what we do, we define some core telemetry signals. Like you probably want to have an idea of what to report for HTTP call. We define a metric and a span. We say, OK, there is certain list of properties you would capture. And these properties are called attributes. And here is what they are. And you can rely that the HTTP request method will be available on every HTTP span. This is how it looks like in our repository, on our website. This is Markdown. It's auto-generated, well, some part of it. So what actually is behind it is the YAML. You can hide YAML, but it's better than Markdown. So on the right, you see the span definition. This is the HTTP client span we've just seen in Markdown. There are some sections that are omitted, but it tells you, OK, this is a client span. It's stable. It has this list of attributes. And on the left for you, you see the HTTP request method, the attribute definition. It's also stable. It has some well-known properties. It has examples. You can reference this attribute from spans. You can reference it from metrics, maybe logs, events at some point. But we have quite a few of these definitions inside semantic conventions. And this is what is used by the machinery, by the tooling. And this tooling is called Weaver. It's the OpenTelemetry project. It defines this language. It allows you to compile it or interpret, I don't even know, process it. It makes sure your validations are correct. It can enforce some policies. For example, in OpenTelemetry, we have a policy that attributes should be named. But you don't need to have this policy for you, and Prometheus might not have it for their definitions. You can use this tooling plus our schema to generate Markdown. You can also generate code, which is also super exciting. This talk, though, is focused on the new feature we've recently added, the live check. So you're taking these definitions, you're taking your actual telemetry, and you validating that the definition, your telemetry matches the definition. And this is something we could use in OpenTelemetry. Could we? Yeah? OK. So I'm going to show you a demo. But before that, let's take a quick look at how it works. So the Weaver supports multiple commands. This is a command line tool. Here, the live check, it's also the command line tool. By default, it opens OTLP endpoint. And it listens on a certain OTLP endpoint to anything that comes. And let's say your application, your library, sends some telemetry. Your integration test coordinates running Weaver, coordinates the testing of the application or library. And once it's done, Weaver returns the report. So just to iterate how it works, there is some level of coordination, and you can definitely run it multiple ways. But once we're done with our testing, Weaver will tell, OK, this is awesome telemetry. It's certified awesome. Or it will say, OK, there are some violations that you should pay attention to. And it will produce a report. There are different ways to produce the report, but essentially you can see what happens in the std out. You can get a JSON report. You can massage this report, and you can extract what you want. So pretty useful to run inside your CI/CD pipeline. You change your instrumentation or you route your application, and as the last step, you validate that the telemetry actually matches what you want. OK, time for the live demo. So I have a trivial application. It's a tiny one. It receives HTTP request. It gets a user ID from it. If the user location is in the database, it returns weather forecast for this user. There is nothing really OpenTelemetry about it, except we just add some random attribute somewhere in the code. Let's take a look at the requirements. Oh, this application is very optimistic. It doesn't even list the versions of instrumentation libraries. Well, no versions. So major version upgrade of any of these libraries can just change everything about your telemetry. We try not to do this, but and we will actually see that we don't even break, we try not to break the experimental libraries either. But with this dependency management, you can expect anything to happen. So let's run the application. Let's see. So this is our script. It starts Weaver. It waits for application to start, and it will produce something eventually pretty soon. Let's see. How did we start it? We asked for JSON report. We provide some advice policies. I have some templates to customize reporting, and we told it to output somewhere. OK, I already can see a bunch of red. It cannot be good, right? But we've seen some metrics, spans, some resources. So first thing that comes to, especially, I know Trask will notice. There are some attributes here, like http.status code. We deprecated them. Like a couple of years ago, we stabilized HTTP semantic conventions, and we replaced it with more descriptive response status code. Well, if you Google for it, you will soon find that there is a way to opt in into stable semantics. And if we go and update our code to actually do this, if we uncomment, if we enable a specific environment variable, then it will bring the new semantic conventions in. The other thing I wanted to show you is, OK, it's a long list. There is a missing attribute, deployment environment name. But, well, I know some conf, there is attribute like this. There is a typo. It's environment, not environment. So a typo like this can easily turn your dashboards, the production dashboards, into pumpkin. You can no longer test if those are production or not. OK, so if we run this tool again, we will see a smaller list of errors. There will be still some. What happens is that we stabilized database semantic conventions recently. And the Python library that we use here in this demo does not implement them yet. So the tool will tell you that your database attributes are not up to date. And you can definitely provide the version of semantic conventions to validate against. So here we don't specify it, so it validates against the latest one. We could provide the earlier version. We could provide the custom registry. And this is where we talk about custom telemetry. So moving back to the slides. This is where I really hoped that Jeremy would be here, because he would tell the user experience, the somebody who actually leverages to make the telemetry better. So bear with me, I'll do my best. In the real life, you don't just consume OpenTelemetry semantic conventions. Your company could have a set of, let's say, attributes or signals that you want to produce, and your applications would need to comply with this company conventions. And you need to be able to define those. So what they found that, OK, once they define them, it benefits humans, because humans can read documentation, well, at least some of us do, not me. Even better, AI is super good at getting the spec and implementing the spec. So it benefits AI tools as well. And the Weaver also serves as both the inner loop validation and the CI/CD check, where they put the gates, but also the developers locally can quickly check if something works according to the conventions. So the way they do this, you can take the whole OpenTelemetry conventions, but you need just a small piece of it in your enterprise, the company model. And then when you define application model, you say, OK, this is my small subset of things I actually care about. So I'm going to generate code, generate documentation only for the things that I care about. And then I'm going to live check against them. And what they define, so they have some very important attribute called market name. It identifies the market for the devices they produce. I hope I didn't mess something up. Anyway, so our schema, well, it's still a little bit evolving, and we will continue evolving it. But here, there is something pretty interesting. So there are annotations, and under annotations, you can put whatever you want. It's YAML. Define the things you want to validate that are not part of the schema, or the things that are part of your documentation but not the part of the schema. Of course, if it's generally applicable, it's best to suggest an addition to schema, but if it's your company thing, if it takes time, this gives you the escape hatch and the customization point. We will see it in action soon. So then there is application model. This is where they define the span. The interesting thing about the span, it has two attributes, at least the one that we see. One of them is coming from OpenTelemetry, the rpc.service. The other one is a market name. This is their attribute. And the span combines both. So let's take a look at the demo of how validation works. The tooling is slightly different, but you can see we are running Weaver, we are running some tests, and now we have the output. We see that we have seen everything defined in registry. We see some advisories given, and we see actually in the full report, we see all the signals we received, spans, resources, metrics, if there were metrics. So it tells us, OK, there is something we can improve. The test case name is not stable attribute yet, not a big deal, but something to be aware of. This attribute that you're consuming, it's part of OpenTelemetry, but it's not stable. The rest looks pretty green and nice. Jeremy didn't want to have any failures in this demo. And you can get some summary saying, OK, how many things you have seen and what is the summary of all the advices you've been given. OK. Now let's see annotations in action. And just even without annotations, you can provide custom policies. So Weaver has some checks. Let's say it will validate that the required attribute is present. But you also want to say that, OK, maybe all of these attributes of this value should be in uppercase. Or maybe you want to enforce that certain attribute doesn't contain, I don't know, sensitive information. You have some means to validate it. Wonderful. So you can write your custom policies. You can plug them into Weaver. And there is Open Policy Agent thing and Rego language that allows you to write these policies. So think about this function as a callback that runs against a sample. The sample is anything validatable, span, metric, resource, entity, event, attribute. And what Weaver does for you, it finds the definition in the registry, and it gives you the programmatic way to validate both the thing and its definition in the same place. And here we use annotations. So anything after annotations is up for grabs. It's yours. You can say, OK, we wanted to test that this attribute value should be in uppercase. And then let's actually test it. You provide some context for the output. It will show up in your report. And you can provide all the details you want in this custom advisor. OK, we are pretty much done with the formal part. It's time to play. So Weaver supports stdin. And it also supports JSON input, not just OTLP. So you can pipe things together. So what Jeremy does is pretty awesome. So he takes the telemetry, queries it from his backend, and he messages it with JQ, and he runs Weaver on top of the telemetry at rest, queried from his backend, to validate some historical data and check if this data actually follows the schema. So pretty fun. You might not make it part of your CI/CD pipeline, but it's an interesting way to check, to just be curious and check if what you already have follows conventions. Okay, and you can get pretty much the same report as we've seen before, and this report is customizable. So I hope we all agree that the telemetry quality is important. I know somebody who definitely agrees with me. You should talk to Jurasi about it. He has a lot of interesting thoughts and project around it. We know that in order to achieve it, we need to document and validate our telemetry. And the Weaver is the tool that allows you to automate it. You can listen to OTLP, you can validate data from std in or files, you can plug your validation policies, and you can generate flexible reports. And if you want to get involved, we would be super excited to see you. This is a new tool. We're still figuring out what the reports should look like, right? So you've seen a couple of examples. What would be useful for everyone? What information is missing? How we can build this default? What are the rules? Like we had some interesting discussions about this. In order to get involved, you can participate in OpenTelemetry Semantic Conventions tooling SIG, and this is essentially the SIG behind the Weaver project. We have a lot of interesting projects there. We have some gaps in the schema. We are working on the better schema. We work on more tooling around federation. We want you to do more of, define your own semantic conventions for the world, for your company, for your application. We want to use this tooling, and we have some awesome developments in this space to let you seamlessly upgrade if somebody renames a metric. So how can we give them the tooling to modify it on the fly or maybe adapt the dashboard so it supports both versions? So we would be happy to see your examples in OpenTelemetry Weaver examples. This is a new repo. We want to see how you use Weaver, and we want to see where we can do better and support you better. And yeah, thank you. I think we still have maybe a minute for questions. I'm not sure if it's enough time. Okay, come see me later. Or there is Weaver maintainer Josh Suarez in the audience. Come talk to him.